Why can't you be more like your sister? That's what my mother said to me at Thanksgiving dinner this year, in front of 37 family members and friends gathered around the beautifully decorated tables in my parents' dining room in suburban New Jersey. She said it loud enough that conversation stopped mid-sentence. Forks paused midway to mouths. Wine glasses froze in the air. People looked at me, then at my sister Melissa, then back at me, waiting to see how I'd respond, waiting to see if I'd defend myself or just take it like I'd been taking it my whole life, waiting for the show. My sister Melissa smiled that perfect smile of hers, the one she'd perfected over 32 years of being the golden child, sympathetic on the surface, with just the right amount of concerned sisterly love showing through. But if you knew her like I knew her, if you'd spent your entire life in her shadow, you could see the satisfaction underneath, the validation, the confirmation that yes, she was still the favorite, still the standard, still everything our mother had ever wanted in a daughter. And I was still the disappointment. My mother continued, emboldened by the audience, encouraged by the attention. She'd had 3 glasses of wine by this point, and her filter was completely gone. Melissa has her master's degree from Boston University. She's a marketing director at a prestigious firm in Manhattan. She owns a beautiful home in Westchester County. She's engaged to a wonderful man from an excellent family. She's accomplished. She's driven. She's everything I always hoped my daughters would be. And you? She paused, looking at me with that expression I'd seen 1,000 times before. Disappointment mixed with confusion, mixed with something that looked almost like pity, as if she couldn't quite figure out where she'd gone wrong with me, as if my existence was a puzzle she'd never been able to solve. You're 34 years old, Rebecca. 34. You work in IT doing something I don't even understand. Something with computers. You live in a tiny apartment in Queens. You're single with no prospects. You have no ambition, no drive, no direction. When are you going to make something of yourself? When are you going to give me something to be proud of? I sat there at the side table where I'd been relegated, not good enough for the main table with Melissa and her fiancé Brad and my parents and the important guests. And I felt every eye in that room on me. Some people looked uncomfortable, shifting in their seats, suddenly very interested in their plates. Others looked curious, even entertained, eager to see family drama unfold over the turkey and stuffing. A few looked pitying, which was somehow worse than the judgment. Poor Rebecca, they were thinking. Always in her sister's shadow. Always disappointing. Never quite good enough. My Uncle Tom, my father's brother, cleared his throat awkwardly. My Aunt Susan, my mother's sister, looked down at her plate. My cousin Jennifer, who was sitting at my table, reached over and squeezed my hand sympathetically. She'd always been kind to me. She knew what it was like to be compared to a more successful sibling. But none of them said anything. None of them defended me. They just sat there and let my mother publicly humiliate me at Thanksgiving dinner. This wasn't new. My mother had been comparing me unfavorably to Melissa our entire lives. But usually she had the decency to do it privately. Usually she waited until it was just family, or just her and me. Making it public like this, at Thanksgiving, in front of 37 people including extended family and my parents' friends from their church and their neighborhood, that was new. That was escalation. That was a line crossed. And I'd had enough. I'd spent 3 years paying their mortgage so they wouldn't lose their house. 3 years sending $3,200 every single month without fail. 3 years keeping them afloat, while my mother bragged about Melissa's success and dismissed my career as something with computers. 3 years of being their financial lifeline, while being treated like their family embarrassment. 3 years of silence. 3 years of secrets. 3 years of being the invisible daughter who wrote checks they cashed without question. I was done. Let me back up. Let me tell you how we got here. Let me tell you the whole story from the beginning. Because the beginning matters. Because the context matters. Because you need to understand exactly what led to this moment. My name is Rebecca Ann Lawson. I'm 34 years old, like my mother so helpfully announced to everyone. I work as a senior cybersecurity consultant for a firm called SecureNet Solutions in Manhattan. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment in Astoria, Queens, in a pre-war building with hardwood floors and high ceilings and a view of the Manhattan skyline. And I've spent my entire life, all 34 years of it, being compared to my younger sister and found wanting. Melissa Ann Lawson is 2 years younger than me. She's 32, and growing up, she was everything I wasn't. Everything my mother had dreamed of in a daughter. Pretty where I was plain, graceful where I was clumsy, outgoing where I was shy, Athletic where I was bookish, popular where I was awkward, feminine where I was tomboyish. She was the daughter my mother had always wanted. The daughter she'd dreamed of having, the daughter who would fulfill all her pageant queen ambitions. I was the daughter she got stuck with first. The practice run, the rough draft, the one who didn't quite turn out right. Our mother, Patricia Ann Lawson, née Richardson, is a former beauty queen who never quite got over the fact that her glory days ended at 23. She was Miss New Jersey in 1988. She competed in the Miss America pageant that year. She didn't win, didn't even place in the top 10. But for 6 months she wore a crown and a sash and got to be special. She has that crown in a lighted display case in the living room. She has the photos on the wall in the hallway. Patricia in her evening gown, Patricia in her swimsuit, Patricia waving to the crowd. She's built her entire identity around those 6 months of being a state pageant queen. She married my father, David Michael Lawson, when she was 24 years old. He was 32 at the time, a real estate developer who was just starting to make real money. She thought she was marrying wealth and status and security. She thought she'd be a real estate mogul's wife, living in a mansion, attending charity galas, being somebody important. And for a while, for about 20 years, she was right. I was born a year after they got married, in June of 1989. I was not a pretty baby. I've seen the photos. I was red-faced and wrinkly, and I had colic, so I cried constantly for the first 4 months of my life. My mother tells stories about how difficult I was as an infant, as if my failure to be an easy, beautiful, peaceful baby was a personal affront to her, as if I'd done it on purpose to make her life harder. Melissa was born 2 years later, in August of 1991. She was a beautiful baby. Big blue eyes, blonde hair, perfect little features. She slept through the night for 6 weeks. She smiled early. She was the kind of baby that people would stop my mother on the street to compliment. "What a gorgeous baby," they'd say. And my mother would beam with pride. That's when the comparison started. "Melissa is such an easy baby," my mother would say to me when I was 2 years old. "Why weren't you like this? Why did you have to cry all the time?" As if I could remember being an infant. As if I'd had any control over it. As we grew up, the comparisons only intensified. By the time I was 5 and Melissa was 3, the pattern was set. Melissa was naturally thin and graceful. She took to ballet like she'd been born for it. She was in dance classes from age 3, and by age 6 she was in recitals, wearing little tutus, being adorable on stage. I was chubby and clumsy. I tried ballet for exactly 3 classes before the teacher gently suggested to my mother that perhaps I'd be better suited to a different activity. Something less coordinated. My mother's face had gone tight with embarrassment. Melissa made friends easily. She was outgoing and charming, and people gravitated to her. She had birthday parties with 20 kids. She was invited to every play date, every sleepover, every party. I struggled socially. I was shy and awkward, and I didn't know how to talk to other kids. I preferred reading to playing. I had maybe 2 friends, and even they were more like acquaintances. My birthday parties were small, sad affairs, with a handful of kids whose mothers forced them to attend. In school, Melissa was an A student without really trying. She'd glance at her homework and somehow get everything right. She was in the gifted program. Teachers loved her. She was smart and charming and well-behaved. I was a solid B student who had to work hard for every grade. I wasn't in the gifted program. Teachers thought I was quiet and unmotivated. I wasn't unmotivated. I was just intimidated. By middle school, the differences between us were stark. Melissa was on the cheerleading squad. She was popular. She was invited to parties. She had a group of friends who worshipped her. She got asked to do school dances. I was in the computer club and the chess club. I was invisible. I ate lunch in the library because I didn't have anyone to sit with in the cafeteria. I'd never been to a party. I'd never been asked to dance. Every achievement of Melissa's was celebrated like she'd won an Olympic gold medal. Every achievement of mine was met with, "That's nice, honey," before my mother went back to talking about something Melissa had done. When I made the honor roll in 8th grade, B+ average, which was the best I'd ever done, my mother said, "That's good, Rebecca. Keep working hard." When Melissa made the honor roll the same semester with straight A's, my mother threw her a celebration dinner, invited the grandparents, made a cake. I took photos, posted about it on Facebook. I sat at that dinner and smiled and congratulated my sister while my mother gushed about how brilliant Melissa was. How proud she was. How Melissa was destined for great things. High school was more of the same. Melissa was a varsity cheerleader. She was on the homecoming court. She dated the captain of the football team. She was in the school musical. She was in student government. She was everything. I was the girl who spent lunch periods in the computer lab, who was on the robotics team, who had exactly one friend, a girl named Sarah who was as awkward as I was, who never went to prom because no one asked me. When I got accepted to Rutgers University for computer science, my mother's response was, "That's good, Rebecca. Very practical. Computers are a growing field. You'll be able to get a job." When Melissa got accepted to Boston University for marketing 2 years later, my mother cried happy tears. She called everyone she knew. She posted about it on Facebook with about 50 exclamation points. She bought Melissa a designer bag as a celebration gift. I got a new laptop for college, a practical gift, something I needed. Melissa got a designer bag, something that said my mother was proud. The pattern continued through college. I graduated from Rutgers in 2011 with a degree in computer science. My GPA was 3.4, which I was proud of because I'd worked hard for it. I got a job at a tech company in New Jersey making $65,000 a year, which was good money for a 22-year-old. My mother's response was, "That's nice, dear. I'm glad you found something. Make sure you save your money. You'll need it since you probably won't marry well." Melissa graduated from Boston University in 2013 with a degree in marketing. Her GPA was 3.7. She got a job at a prestigious advertising agency in Manhattan making $55,000 a year. My mother threw her a graduation party, invited 50 people, had it catered, gave a speech about how proud she was of her brilliant, accomplished daughter. I was at that party. I'd driven up from New Jersey. I sat at a table in the corner and listened to my mother talk about Melissa's achievements for 20 minutes without once mentioning that I existed. When I was 25, I got promoted to senior consultant. My salary jumped to $95,000. I called my mother to tell her, "That's nice, honey. Listen, I have to go. I'm helping Melissa shop for a dress for a work event. She's presenting at some big marketing conference and she needs to look perfect." When Melissa was 23, she got engaged to a guy named Ryan. He was a lawyer. The engagement lasted 8 months before Melissa broke it off because she realized she didn't actually love him. But during those 8 months, my mother was in wedding planning heaven. She had Pinterest boards. She toured venues with Melissa. She talked about it constantly. The engagement that never became a wedding was the biggest thing in my mother's life for almost a year. By the time I was 28, I was making $150,000 a year. I was a lead consultant specializing in cybersecurity, which was a booming field. Companies paid my firm a lot of money for my expertise. I was good at my job. Really good. I could look at a system and identify vulnerabilities that others missed. I could design security protocols that actually worked. I could explain complex technical concepts to non-technical executives in ways they understood. But my mother had no idea what I did. She'd tell people, "Rebecca works with computers. I don't really understand it. Something technical." She'd say it with this slightly apologetic tone, as if my career was embarrassing, as if doing something technical was somehow less than a real job. Meanwhile, Melissa's career was progressing nicely. She moved from the advertising agency to a marketing firm. She got promoted to account manager, then senior account manager, then associate director. By the time she was 30, she was a director of marketing making about $120,000 a year. It was a good salary, a respectable salary, but it was less than I was making. By 30, I was making $200,000 a year. By 32, I'd been promoted to lead consultant and I was making $275,000 a year. But my mother didn't know that, because I never told her. Why would I? She wouldn't have cared. She wouldn't have been impressed. She'd have found some way to dismiss it or diminish it or make it about how Melissa's job was more important because it was creative and client-facing and something she could understand and brag about to her friends. 3 years ago, when I was 31, everything changed. My father's real estate business collapsed. He'd been struggling for years. The 2008 financial crisis had devastated the real estate market, and he'd never fully recovered. He'd made some bad investments in 2015 and 2016. He'd trusted the wrong partners. He'd extended himself too far trying to get back to where he'd been before the crash. By 2021, he was deeply in debt. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. He'd mortgaged properties to invest in other properties that never panned out. He'd guaranteed loans for partners who defaulted. He'd made one bad decision after another trying to save his business, and all of it had failed. They lost everything. Had to sell their vacation house in the Hamptons that they'd owned for 15 years. Had to sell my father's boat. Had to sell my mother's jewelry except for her wedding ring. had to downsize from their 5-bedroom, 4,000 square foot house in Summit, New Jersey, one of the wealthiest towns in the state, to a modest 3-bedroom, 2,800 square foot house in a middle-class neighborhood in Springfield. It was humiliating for them, especially for my mother, who'd built her entire identity around being wealthy and successful and living in the right neighborhood with the right people. She'd spent 30 years telling everyone at her garden club and her church, and her charity boards about her successful real estate developer husband, and their beautiful house and their vacation, home and their boat. She'd built a life around status and appearances, and suddenly all of that was gone. She had to quit the garden club because she couldn't afford the dues. She had to step down from her charity boards because she could no longer make the expected donations. She had to move to a neighborhood where she didn't know anyone, where the houses were smaller and the cars were older and the people were middle class instead of upper middle class. For a woman whose entire self-worth was wrapped up in status and appearances, it was devastating. My father was destroyed. He was 60 years old and he'd failed. He'd lost everything he'd spent 40 years building. He was embarrassed, ashamed, depressed. He got a job as a property manager for a commercial real estate company, making about $80,000 a year. It was honest work, but it was a massive step down from being the owner of his own development company, from being his own boss, from making multiple 6 figures. My mother had never worked. She'd been a housewife for 30 years. She'd volunteered. She'd served on boards. She'd hosted parties. She'd decorated houses, but she'd never had a paying job. She had no employable skills, no career, no resume. She was 62 years old with a high school diploma and 30 years of being a professional wife and mother. She couldn't get a job even if she'd wanted one. They were living on my father's $80,000 salary, and it wasn't enough. When they downsized to the new house in Springfield, they had to take out a mortgage. They couldn't buy it outright because they'd lost everything in the business collapse. They needed a $450,000 mortgage. At their age, 60 and 62, with my father's destroyed credit and uncertain income, the interest rate was terrible. They got stuck with a 6.5% rate when better credit could have gotten them 4%. Their monthly mortgage payment was $3,200. Add to that property taxes of about $800 a month, homeowners insurance at $150 a month, utilities at $300 a month, and basic maintenance. And they were looking at roughly $5,000 a month in housing costs alone. My father's take-home pay after taxes was about $5,000 a month. That left exactly $0 for food, transportation, medical bills, or anything else. They were drowning. I found out because my father called me late one night in November, 3 years ago. It was about 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was at home in my apartment in Queens, working on a project for a client. My phone rang. My father's name on the screen. That was unusual. My father never called me. We weren't close. We'd never been close. He'd always been distant, focused on work, letting my mother handle all the parenting and family relationships. I couldn't remember the last time he'd called me. Maybe never. Dad? Is everything okay? Rebecca. His voice sounded strange, shaky, rough, like he'd been crying. I need to talk to you about something, and I'm asking you please not to tell your mother I called. Okay. What's wrong? Are you sick? Is Mom sick? No, nothing like that. We're healthy. But Rebecca, we're in trouble. Financial trouble. Serious trouble. What kind of trouble? The mortgage on the new house is more than we can afford. I thought we could manage it. I thought I could make it work. But we can't. After the mortgage and taxes and utilities, there's nothing left. We're eating into savings just to buy groceries. And the savings are running out. We have maybe 3 months before we can't make the mortgage payment. Maybe less. Oh, Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it was that bad. I haven't told your mother how bad it is. She thinks we're managing. She doesn't look at the bank statements. She doesn't want to know. But Rebecca, I don't know what to do. I'm 60 years old. This is the best job I can get. Your mother can't work. We're going to lose the house. After everything, after losing the business and the vacation house, and having to downsize and move to a different town, we're going to lose this house too. And I don't know what to do. There was desperation in his voice. This man who'd always been so confident, so in control, so successful, was falling apart. How much do you need? I asked. What? How much do you need? To keep the house. To make it work. What's the monthly shortfall? The mortgage is $3,200 a month. If someone could help with that, just for a while, until I figure something out, Until I maybe find a better job or we can refinance at a better rate or something. I don't know. I'm asking for help and I don't even know how to ask. I've never asked my children for help. I'm supposed to be helping you, not the other way around. I'll pay it. Silence on the other end of the line. Then what? I'll pay your mortgage. All of it. $3,200 a month. For as long as you need. Rebecca, I can't ask you to do that. That's $38,400 a year. I can afford it, Dad. How? You work in IT. You make decent money, I'm sure. But $38,400 a year? That's more than half your salary, isn't it? No, Dad, I make good money. More than you probably realize. I can afford this. Let me help. But how will you live? How will you pay your own rent? I'll be fine. I promise. I make enough that this won't hurt me. Let me do this. Your mother can't know. She can't know we needed help. She can't know we're not managing. She can't know I had to ask our daughter to bail us out. She'd be humiliated. It would destroy what's left of her pride. Then she won't know. Tell her you worked out a deal with the bank. Tell her you got a bonus at work. Tell her your 401k paid out. Tell her nothing. However you want to handle it. But let me pay the mortgage. Rebecca, why would you do this? After how your mother has treated you? After years of comparing you to Melissa? After making you feel like you're not good enough? Why would you help us? Because you're my father. Because you need help. Because I can. Because family is supposed to help family, even when the family isn't perfect. And Dad, you're not asking. I'm offering. There was a long silence. Then I heard my father crying. Thank you. God, Rebecca, thank you. I don't know what to say. I don't deserve this. Your mother and I don't deserve this after how we've treated you. We can talk about that later. For now, just send me your mortgage account information. I'll set up automatic payments. First of the month. Every month. You'll never have to worry about it. I don't know how to thank you. You just did. And Dad, I love you. I know we're not close. I know we've never really talked, but I love you, and I don't want you to lose your house. That conversation was 3 years ago, in November of 2021. Starting in December of 2021, I began paying my parents' mortgage. $3,200 a month, every month, automatically transferred from my account to theirs on the first of the month. $38,400 a year. Over 3 years, I've paid $115,200 of their mortgage. I've never told anyone except my father. My mother has no idea. As far as she knows, they're managing fine on my father's salary and whatever was left of their savings. She has no idea that without my help, they'd have lost the house in early 2022. Would have had to move again. Would have been completely financially ruined. I kept it secret because my father asked me to. Because he was embarrassed. Because he couldn't bear for my mother to know how badly he'd failed. Because he knew my mother's pride couldn't handle the knowledge that they needed help from their daughters. And I kept it secret for my own reasons too. Because some part of me knew that even if my mother found out, it wouldn't change anything. She'd find some way to make it about Melissa anyway. She'd minimize my contribution. She'd focus on how embarrassing it was that they needed help, rather than on how generous it was that I provided it. So I stayed quiet. Paid the bills every month like clockwork, and let my mother keep comparing me unfavorably to my perfect younger sister. But it wasn't just the mortgage. The help didn't stop there. 6 months after I started paying the mortgage, in June of 2022, my father called again. Rebecca, I hate to ask for anything else after you're already doing so much. But we have another problem. What is it? Your mother's car died. The transmission went completely. It'll cost $4,000 to fix, and the car's not even worth $4,000. It's a 2010 Honda Accord with 180,000 miles on it. It's not worth fixing. She needs a new car, but we don't have the money. After the mortgage and bills and groceries, there's nothing left for a car. I don't know what to do. She can't be without a car. We don't have public transportation here. She needs to get groceries, go to church, see her friends, but I can't afford to buy her a car. What kind of car does she want? She's been looking at Honda CR-Vs. They're reliable. But even a used one is $25,000 or more. I can't do it, Rebecca. I just can't. I'll buy her a car. Rebecca, Dad, it's okay. Let me do this. What color CR-V does she want? What features? You can't buy your mother a car. That's too much. The mortgage is already... I can and I will. Send me the details of what she wants. I'll take care of it. I don't know what to say. This is too much. It's not too much. It's what family does. Now send me the specs and I'll order it. 2 weeks later, I bought my mother a brand new Honda CR-V, fully loaded. All the features. Burgundy, because that was her favorite color. $32,000 I paid in cash, had it delivered to a dealership near their house. My father told my mother he'd been secretly saving money for years and wanted to surprise her for their anniversary. She cried. She was so happy. She called everyone she knew. She posted photos on Facebook with captions about her wonderful, thoughtful husband. She drove over to Melissa's house to show her. She took my father out to a nice dinner to thank him. She never once thought to thank me, because she had no idea I'd bought it. My father sent me a text. She loves it. Thank you. I wish I could tell her the truth. You deserve the credit. I texted back. I don't need credit. I just want her to be happy. Then there was Melissa's wedding. 2 years ago, in the summer of 2022, Melissa got engaged to Brad Henderson. He was 34, same age as me. He worked at Goldman Sachs in some kind of finance role that I never fully understood. He made good money, around $200,000 a year. He was fine. A little arrogant, a little boring, obsessed with golf and his college fraternity, but he treated Melissa well enough, and he came from a good family with money. My mother was over the moon. She'd been dreaming of Melissa's wedding since Melissa was born. She had a Pinterest board with 500 pins. She had a binder of magazine clippings. She had ideas. Lots of ideas. Expensive ideas. The venue she wanted was the Ryland Inn in White House Station, New Jersey. Beautiful historic building, gorgeous grounds, perfect for a wedding. $50,000 just for the venue. The dress she wanted for Melissa was Vera Wang. $8,000. The flowers, orchids and peonies and roses, arranged by a celebrity florist from New York City. $15,000. The photographer, someone who'd shot weddings for minor celebrities. $10,000. The band, a 12-piece orchestra. $12,000. The food, a 7-course dinner, prepared by a Michelin-starred chef. $25,000 for 200 guests. The total cost of the wedding my mother was planning was $120,000. It was insane. It was excessive. It was everything my mother had ever dreamed of. Melissa and Brad were willing to pay for some of it. Brad's parents were well off and traditional, so they offered to pay for the rehearsal dinner and the alcohol at the reception. About $40,000 total. Melissa and Brad said they could contribute $20,000 from their savings. That left $60,000 that was supposed to come from the bride's family, from my parents, who didn't have $60,000, who didn't even have $6,000. My father called me in March of 2022, 3 months after Melissa got engaged. Rebecca, I need to talk to you about something. About Melissa's wedding. Okay, what about it? Your mother has her heart set on this huge, expensive wedding. She's been planning it for months. She's so happy. She's more excited than I've seen her in years. It's giving her something to focus on besides our financial problems. That's good, I guess. But Rebecca, the wedding costs $120,000. Brad's family is paying $40,000. Melissa and Brad are paying $20,000. That leaves $60,000 that should come from us, from the bride's family. That's traditional. Your mother is counting on it. Melissa is counting on it. But you don't have $60,000. I have maybe $10,000 saved. That's it. That's all that's left of our retirement savings after the business collapsed. I can give them $10,000, but that leaves $50,000 short. And I don't have it. I don't know how to tell your mother. I don't know how to tell Melissa. After everything they've already lost, after having to move and downsize and give up so much, I can't give your sister the wedding she deserves. I can't give your mother this one thing she's been dreaming about since Melissa was born. I feel like I've failed them. I've failed everyone. He sounded broken, defeated. Like this was the final straw in a long series of failures. How much do you need? $50,000. I need $50,000, and I don't have it. I don't know what to do. I can't ask you for this. You're already paying the mortgage. You already bought your mother a car. I can't ask you for $50,000. That's insane. You're not asking. I'm offering. I'll pay for Melissa's wedding. What? No, Rebecca, you can't. That's too much. Way too much. I can afford it. And I'm not going to let Melissa's wedding be ruined because of Dad's business failing. It's not her fault. She deserves a nice wedding. But $50,000? Rebecca, I know what it is, and I can do it. But Dad, you have to promise me something. Anything. Mom and Melissa can never know it came from me. Mom will already be thanking Brad's parents for their contribution, and thanking Melissa and Brad for their contribution. If she finds out I paid for half the wedding, she'll either feel humiliated that she needed my help, Or she'll find some way to make it about how I'm just trying to show off or compete with Melissa. I don't want either of those things. So she can't know. Promise me. I promise. Rebecca, I don't know how to thank you. This is too generous. You're saving your sister's wedding. You're giving your mother her dream. I'm helping my family. That's all. Now send me the payment schedule and I'll transfer the money in installments so Mom doesn't get suspicious. Over the next 6 months, I transferred $50,000 to my parents in 5 installments of $10,000 each. I timed them carefully so my mother wouldn't question where the money was coming from. My father told her he'd gotten a bonus. Then he said he'd sold some old stocks. Then he said he'd gotten a payout from an old business insurance policy. She believed it all because she wanted to believe it. Because she wanted this wedding. Because she didn't want to look too closely at their finances. The wedding happened in August of 2022. It was beautiful. Everything my mother had dreamed of. The venue was perfect. The weather was perfect. The dress was stunning. Melissa looked like a princess. The flowers were exactly what my mother wanted. The food was incredible. The band was fantastic. Everyone said it was the most beautiful wedding they'd ever attended. My mother cried happy tears all day. She danced with Melissa to What a Wonderful World, and they both cried. She gave a toast about how proud she was of her beautiful, accomplished daughter. How Melissa had always been special. How she'd always known Melissa would have a fairy tale life. At the wedding, I sat at a table with some cousins I barely knew. Table 17, way in the back. Not at the family table with my parents and Melissa and Brad's parents. Not at the wedding party table. Just at a random table with some of Brad's college friends and their dates. I'd paid for half of this wedding. I'd paid for the venue where my mother was crying happy tears. I'd paid for the flowers that decorated every surface. I'd paid for the dress that made Melissa look like a princess. I'd paid for the food everyone was raving about. I'd paid for the band that had everyone dancing. Half of this $120,000 fairy tale wedding was my money. And Melissa had no idea. My mother had no idea. Nobody knew except my father and me. During the reception, my mother found me at my table. She'd had several glasses of champagne and she was emotional. Rebecca, isn't this beautiful? Isn't your sister beautiful? Isn't this just perfect? It's lovely, Mom. You did a great job planning it. I just want you to know, even though you're not married yet, even though you haven't given me this, I still love you. You're still my daughter even if you haven't accomplished what Melissa has. She patted my hand and walked away, leaving me sitting there. Even if you haven't accomplished what Melissa has. At the wedding I'd paid half of. I went home that night and cried. Not sad tears exactly, just frustrated tears. Exhausted tears, tired of being invisible tears. But I didn't tell anyone. Didn't say anything. Just kept paying the bills and being the secret benefactor to a family that didn't appreciate me. Over the next 2 years, the financial help continued. When my father needed $6,000 for dental work, because he needed several crowns, and their dental insurance barely covered anything, I paid it. When their furnace died in the middle of a cold snap in January 2023, and they needed $8,000 for a new one, I paid it. When my mother decided she wanted to take Melissa on a mother-daughter trip to Napa Valley for Melissa's 30th birthday, a week-long trip with wine tours and spa treatments and nice hotels, total cost around $5,000, I paid for it. I found out about that trip not from an invitation, but from my father. He called me, embarrassed, to ask if I could help with the cost. Your mother wants to do something special for Melissa's 30th birthday. A trip, just the two of them. Mother-daughter bonding. She's very excited about it. That sounds nice. What about me? Is she planning something for my 30th? That was 4 years ago, but better late than never, right? Silence on the other end. Rebecca, I don't think... I'm sorry. I told your mother she should include you in the trip, but she said it was a special thing just for her and Melissa. She said you probably wouldn't want to go anyway because you don't like wine that much. I see. I'm sorry. I wish she was different. I wish she treated you equally. But she's so focused on Melissa and I don't know how to change that. It's fine, Dad. How much is the trip? About $5,000 for both of them. Flights, hotels, wine tours, dinners, spa. Your mother has it all planned out. Send me the details. I'll transfer the money. After she didn't invite you? You're still going to pay for it? Dad, I'm not doing this for gratitude or recognition. I'm doing it because you need help and I can provide it. Whether or not Mom appreciates me doesn't change that. Send me the details. I paid for my mother and Melissa to go on a week-long girls' trip to Napa. They posted photos on social media the whole time. Photos of them at wineries, Photos of them at spa. Photos of them at fancy dinners. Photos of them laughing and bonding and having the best time. My mother's caption on one photo: making memories with my baby girl. So grateful for this special time together. No mention of how that special time was funded. No mention of me at all. All told, over 3 years, from December 2021 to November 2024, I gave my parents more than $200,000. Mortgage, payments, $150,200, car, $32,000, wedding, $50,000, various, repairs and expenses, $15,000 plus. Total, over $212,000. I kept detailed records, every payment documented, every transfer saved, every receipt filed, screenshots of transactions, PDF copies of payments, everything organized in a folder on my computer labeled Family Financial Help. I'm not sure why I kept such meticulous records. Maybe I'm just organized by nature. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. Documentation is part of my job. Maybe some part of me knew this day would come, this Thanksgiving, this moment, this breaking point. Now let me tell you about this Thanksgiving, about how we got from 3 years of secret financial support to a public confrontation in front of 37 people. My parents host Thanksgiving every year. It's always been a big production. My mother starts planning in October. She spends weeks deciding on the menu, shopping for decorations, sending invitations, coordinating who's bringing what. She invites family, her 2 siblings and their families, my father's brother and his family, various cousins. She invites friends from their neighborhood, from their church, from their book club. She treats it like a social event where she can show off her hosting skills and her perfect family. This year, she invited 37 people. I got the group email invitation in early November. You're invited to our annual Thanksgiving celebration, Thursday, November 28th, 3 p.m. Traditional Thanksgiving dinner with all the fixings. Please RSVP and let me know if you'd like to bring a dish. Can't wait to see everyone. Love, Patricia. I replied that I'd be there and asked what I could bring. My mother replied, "Oh, that's sweet, Rebecca, but Melissa is bringing appetizers and she's hired a caterer to help with the side dishes. She's being so generous with her contribution. You can just bring yourself and maybe a bottle of wine." Translation: Melissa's contribution would be impressive and expensive and would be acknowledged. Mine would be wine that would go on the counter with all the other bottles people brought and wouldn't be particularly noticed. But fine, whatever. I bought a nice bottle of wine, a $75 Pinot Noir from a vineyard I knew my mother liked, and planned to just get through the day. I arrived at their house in Springfield at 2:45 p.m. on Thursday. 15 minutes early. I wanted to help set up, to be useful, to maybe, stupidly I know, earn some appreciation. The house looked beautiful. My mother had decorated extensively. Fall wreaths on the doors, garlands of autumn leaves on the banisters, centerpieces with miniature pumpkins and candles on every table. The good china was out, the set that had belonged to my grandmother. Crystal glasses, silver serving pieces, everything perfect. My mother was in the kitchen wearing a designer dress. Not an apron over the dress. She'd never risk spilling on one of her good dresses, directing my father as he checked on the turkey. "Oh, Rebecca, you're early," she said when I came in through the back door. She looked me up and down. I was wearing a nice sweater dress and boots. Nothing fancy, but nice. "Is that what you're wearing?" "Yes. Is there a problem with it?" No, it's fine. It's just, Melissa bought a new dress for today. Something designer. She's going to look so elegant. But your dress is fine. Very casual. Very you." She turned back to the turkey before I could respond. I set my wine on the counter with the growing collection of bottles other people had dropped off. My father saw me and gave me an apologetic look. He knew how my mother was. He was embarrassed by it, but he never stood up to her. Never defended me. Just gave me apologetic looks and let it happen. Melissa arrived at 3:15, fashionably late, with Brad. She was wearing a designer dress. I recognized it as Diane von Furstenberg, probably $400, and she looked gorgeous. Her blonde hair was professionally styled. Her makeup was perfect. She was carrying 3 beautifully arranged platters of appetizers from an expensive catering company. Brad was behind her carrying 2 more platters. "Oh, Melissa, you look absolutely stunning," my mother gushed, rushing over to hug her. "And these appetizers? They look amazing. Everyone, look what Melissa brought. Aren't they beautiful?" She took the platters from Melissa and Brad and arranged them on the dining room table, making a big show of how wonderful they were. Other guests who'd arrived started gathering around, complimenting Melissa, thanking her for bringing such nice food. Melissa soaked it up, smiling, saying it was nothing. She just wanted to contribute. I stood in the corner of the kitchen holding my $75 bottle of wine that was sitting anonymously on the counter with 10 other bottles, watching my mother fawn over my sister. As more guests arrived, my mother made a point of introducing Melissa to everyone who didn't know her. And even to people who did know her, she'd repeat Melissa's accomplishments. This is my daughter, Melissa. She's a marketing director at a prestigious firm in Manhattan. She just got promoted last month. Isn't that wonderful? And this is her husband, Brad. He works in finance at Goldman Sachs. They have a beautiful home in Westchester County. 4 bedrooms, a gorgeous yard, in such a nice neighborhood. We're so proud of them. When she introduced me, which she did less frequently and less enthusiastically, it was always shorter. Always less detailed. This is my other daughter, Rebecca. She works with computers in the city. That's it. Works with computers in the city. Like I was tech support at Best Buy. Like I was doing something vaguely embarrassing that she didn't want to elaborate on. My Uncle Tom, my father's brother, was one of the people my mother introduced me to, even though he'd known me my entire life. Tom, you remember Rebecca? She works with computers. Uncle Tom, bless him, tried to be more specific. Rebecca, your father mentioned you do cybersecurity? That's a growing field, isn't it? Yes, I'm a senior cybersecurity consultant. I help companies protect their systems from hackers and data breaches. That sounds important. Interesting work? It is. I really enjoy it. My mother had already moved on, pulling Uncle Tom toward Melissa to hear about her recent promotion. Dinner was served at 4 p.m. My mother had arranged the seating very carefully. There were 3 tables set up, the main dining room table, which seated 12, and 2 smaller tables in the living room that each seated 12 to 13 people. The main table was for the most important people. My parents, Melissa, and Brad. Brad's parents who'd driven up from Philadelphia, my mother's best friend and her husband, my Aunt Susan, and Uncle Richard. The A-list. Table 1 in the living room had my father's brother Tom and his family, some of my parents' friends from church, and a few of my mother's friends from her book club. The B-list. Table 2, where I was seated, had some younger cousins I barely knew, some of Brad's college friends and their dates, and me. The C-list. The kids' table, essentially, except we were all adults. I was sitting between Brad's college roommate, who'd spent the entire pre-dinner hour talking about his job at an investment bank, and my cousin Jennifer's boyfriend, who was nice but shy and hadn't said much. Across from me were 2 of Brad's fraternity brothers and their girlfriends, all of whom were talking about a ski trip they were planning. Dinner started with my mother standing up at the main table to make a toast. I want to thank everyone for being here today. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because it's about gratitude and family and being together. I'm so grateful to have all of you here in our home. She paused, looking around at all the guests. I'm especially grateful for my family. My wonderful husband, David, who works so hard to provide for us. My father smiled and nodded, and my beautiful daughters. Melissa, you make me so proud every single day. Your accomplishments, your drive, your success. You're everything I always hoped you'd be. You've built this amazing career. You've married a wonderful man. You've created this beautiful life. I'm so blessed to be your mother. Melissa smiled that perfect smile. Brad put his arm around her. My mother's friends were nodding approvingly. And Rebecca, she looked over at my table. Rebecca, you're here too. And I'm glad you could make it. That was it. That was my acknowledgement. I'm glad you could make it. Like I was a distant acquaintance who'd happened to drop by, not her daughter who'd driven an hour through traffic to be there. My mother raised her glass. To family, to gratitude, to being together. Everyone drank. I drank my wine and said nothing. We started eating. The food was incredible. My mother might be shallow and vain and obsessed with appearances, but she could plan a meal. The turkey was perfect. The stuffing was delicious. The mashed potatoes were creamy. The green beans were fresh. The cranberry sauce was homemade. Everything was excellent. At my table, we ate and made small talk. Brad's friends were nice enough. My cousin Jennifer's boyfriend asked me about my work and seemed genuinely interested when I explained what cybersecurity consulting involved. It was fine. It was fine until my mother decided it wasn't fine. About 45 minutes into dinner, after everyone had eaten and the plates were being cleared for dessert, my mother stood up again at the main table. She'd had several glasses of wine by this point. Her cheeks were flushed. She was in that stage of tipsy, where she felt bold and funny, and like whatever she was thinking should definitely be said out loud. "Before we have dessert, I want to say something else," she announced. The room quieted. Conversation stopped. People turned to listen. I've been thinking a lot lately about success, about what it means to be successful, about what makes me proud as a mother. Oh no, I could see where this was going. I look at Melissa, and I see someone who has really made something of herself. She went to a good university. She worked hard. She built a career. She's a director at her firm. She makes good money. She owns a beautiful home. She married well. She's accomplished. She's driven. She's everything I always hoped my daughters would be. Melissa was starting to look uncomfortable. She could sense what was coming too. And I'm so proud of her. So incredibly proud. I love talking about Melissa's accomplishments. I love telling my friends about her successes. I love knowing that I raised a daughter who made something of her life. She paused. I looked over at my table, at me. And then I look at Rebecca. The room went completely silent. You could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. Rebecca is 34 years old. 34. And she works in IT doing something I don't even understand. Something with computers. Something technical that I can't explain to my friends when they ask what she does. I felt every eye in the room turn to me. 37 people staring, watching, waiting. She lives in a tiny apartment in Queens. She's single. No boyfriend. No prospects. No sign that she's ever going to get married or give me grandchildren. She has no ambition, no drive, no direction. She's just coasting, going through the motions, working some job I don't understand, living alone, going nowhere. My hands were gripping my napkin so hard my knuckles were white. Melissa has exceeded every expectation I had. Rebecca has met none of them. And She looked at me with that expression I'd seen so many times. Disappointment, confusion, pity. Why can't you be more like your sister, Rebecca? Why can't you have Melissa's ambition? Her drive? Her success? When are you going to make something of yourself? When are you going to give me something to be proud of? The silence in the room was deafening. My Uncle Tom looked horrified. My Aunt Susan was staring at her plate. My cousin Jennifer looked like she wanted to cry on my behalf. Brad's friends at my table were exchanging uncomfortable glances. Melissa was looking down, her face red, that little satisfied smile playing at the corners of her mouth, even though she was trying to hide it. My father was pale, his hands clenched on the table. And I just sat there, 34 years old, sitting at the kids' table at my parents' Thanksgiving dinner, being publicly berated by my mother for not being enough, for not being Melissa, for failing to live up to expectations I'd never been able to meet. Something inside me snapped, not in an emotional breakdown way, in a clarity way, in a this is enough way, in a I'm done accepting this way. 3 years. 3 years of paying their mortgage. 3 years of keeping them afloat. 3 years of being their financial lifeline while being treated like their family embarrassment. 3 years of silence. 3 years of secrets. 3 years of being invisible while writing checks. I was done. I stood up slowly, pulled my phone out of my purse. "Actually, Mom," I said, my voice steady and clear. "I'd like to say something." My mother looked surprised. "Oh, all right, Rebecca. What is it?" "I'd like to share some things with everyone here. Since we're talking about success and ambition and accomplishments and who's done what with their lives, I think it's time everyone knew the whole truth." "Rebecca, what are you talking about?" my mother asked, her smile faltering slightly. "I'm talking about the fact that you've spent years, not just today, not just this Thanksgiving, but years, telling everyone how successful Melissa is and how disappointed you are in me. Comparing us, making me the example of wasted potential, making Melissa the golden child and me the cautionary tale. But there are some things you don't know. Mom, some things nobody here knows except Dad, and I think it's time we all got clear on what success actually looks like." "Rebecca, this isn't the time," my father started, his face going even paler. "No, Dad, this is exactly the time. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of being compared. I'm tired of being dismissed. I'm tired of being treated like I'm less than Melissa when the reality is very, very different from what Mom thinks. I walked over to their TV, a 55-inch smart TV mounted on the wall. A TV I'd actually paid for last Christmas when their old one died, though of course they didn't know that. I connected my phone to it via their Apple TV, also paid for by me. "What are you doing?" my mother asked, standing up from her chair, looking nervous now. "I'm going to show everyone a presentation. Since you like to publicly discuss my failures, I thought I'd publicly discuss some facts, some numbers, some truths that I think everyone should know." I'd prepared this presentation last night, lying in bed in my apartment, unable to sleep after my mother had called me to remind me about Thanksgiving and to tell me she hoped I wasn't. Planning to embarrass the family by showing up looking sloppy or saying anything inappropriate, I'd spent 3 hours compiling financial records, taking screenshots, organizing information. Everything documented, everything proven, everything ready. The TV screen came to life. The first slide appeared. Big text, simple design, the truth about success. "Rebecca, what is this?" Melissa asked, looking nervous now. "This is reality. Since Mom wants to talk about who's successful and who's not, who has ambition and who doesn't, who's accomplished something and who hasn't, let's look at the actual facts instead of the story she's been telling." I clicked to the next slide. Fact number 1, my salary. The slide showed a screenshot of my most recent pay stub, with my personal information redacted but the numbers clearly visible. Salary $275,000 per year. Mom, you've never asked what I make. You've never been interested in my work beyond something with computers. So let me tell you, my current annual salary is $275,000. That's $275,000 a year. After taxes, I take home approximately $180,000 annually. Gasps around the room. Audible gasps. My mother's mouth fell open. My Aunt Susan's eyes went wide. Brad's parents looked shocked. That's not possible," my mother stammered. "Yes, it is. I'm a lead cybersecurity consultant at SecureNet Solutions. I'm one of the top specialists in my field. Companies pay my firm a lot of money for my expertise, and I'm compensated accordingly. I'm very good at what I do. I've been promoted 3 times in the past 6 years. My work is highly valued." I clicked to the next slide. It showed Melissa's LinkedIn profile, which publicly listed her salary range. Melissa makes approximately $120,000 per year as a marketing director. That's a great salary. That's very respectable. But it's less than half what I make. So when you talk about Melissa's success and my lack of ambition, when you compare us and find me lacking, keep in mind that I earn more than twice what she does. By the standard of income, which is the standard American society generally uses to measure professional success, I am significantly more successful than my sister. Melissa's face had gone bright red. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Brad looked uncomfortable. "Rebecca, you can't share that information," Melissa protested weakly. "I can, and I am. Because I'm done. I'm done with the comparisons that aren't based in reality." Next slide. A screenshot of my apartment building's website showing my unit and the rent. Mom loves to talk about how I live in a tiny apartment in Queens, like it's something shameful. Let's talk about that apartment. It's a 1-bedroom, 900 square feet, in Astoria, one of the nicest neighborhoods in Queens. It's in a pre-war building with hardwood floors, high ceilings, updated kitchen, a view of the Manhattan skyline. I pay $2,800 a month in rent, which is below market for the area and the quality of the apartment. I clicked to the next slide. Could I afford to buy a place? Yes. Could I afford a much nicer, more expensive apartment? Absolutely. But I live below my means because I'm financially responsible, because I save aggressively, because I plan for the future, because I don't need to impress anyone with where I live. Next slide. A photo of Melissa and Brad's house in Westchester that I'd pulled from the real estate listing when they'd bought it 2 years ago. Melissa and Brad have a beautiful home in Westchester County. Mom talks about it constantly, brings it up to everyone, uses it as an example of Melissa's success. And it is a beautiful house. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,500 square feet, nice yard, good neighborhood. I've been there. It's lovely, I paused. What Mom doesn't mention, what Mom doesn't know, is that Melissa and Brad are drowning in debt to afford that house. Their mortgage payment is $6,500 a month, plus $200 a month in property taxes, plus 2 car payments totaling $100 a month, plus Brad's student loans at $800 a month. plus the home equity line of credit they took out to furnish the place, another $500 a month. They're spending over $10,000 a month on house, cars, and debt payments. They're living paycheck to paycheck, trying to maintain a lifestyle that looks impressive on Instagram, but is financially strangling them. How do you know that? Brad demanded, standing up. Because Melissa told me. Last Christmas, when she called me crying because they'd maxed out all their credit cards buying presents and couldn't afford groceries for the week, and could I please loan them $2,000 until their next paychecks? Which I did, and which you never paid back, by the way. Melissa looked like she might throw up. Brad sat back down heavily. My mother was shaking her head. No, that's not. Melissa, is that true? Melissa didn't answer. Just looked at her plate. Next slide. This one was a screenshot of my bank account statement from last month. Account number redacted, but the balance clearly visible. Savings account, $425,000. This is my savings account. Current balance, $425,000. I've been saving aggressively for 10 years. I max out my 401k every year. That's another $180,000 in retirement savings. I have a 6-month emergency fund. I have no debt, no car payment, no student loans. I paid those off in 3 years. No credit card debt. I'm financially secure and stable. I looked directly at my mother. So when you stand up at Thanksgiving dinner and tell 37 people that I have no ambition, no drive, no success, what exactly do you mean? Because by every objective measure of financial success, I'm doing significantly better than Melissa. I make more money. I have more savings. I have no debt. I'm more financially stable. I'm more successful. So what's the problem, Mom? Is it just that my success doesn't look the way you wanted it to look? Is it that I'm not married? Is it that I live in Queens instead of Westchester? Is it that I don't post Instagram photos of my perfect life? Is it that my job title isn't something you can brag about at your book club? What is it? Because I've done everything right by any reasonable standard. I'm just not doing it the way you wanted me to, so you've decided I'm a failure. My mother had sat back down. She looked stunned. Rebecca, I didn't know. I had no idea. Of course you didn't know, because you've never asked. You've never been interested in my life. You've never wanted to know about my work or my apartment or my finances or my accomplishments. You just assumed I was failing because I wasn't living life like Melissa. Because I didn't fit your script. Next slide. This one made my father close his eyes and put his head in his hands. But let's talk about the real reason I wanted to share all this. Let's talk about what I've actually been doing with all that money I make. Let's talk about the past 3 years. The slide showed a payment schedule, a list of transactions, dates and amounts, monthly payments of $3,200 every month for 36 months. 3 years ago, in November 2021, Dad called me. It was late at night. He was crying. He told me they were going to lose the house. The mortgage was more than they could afford on his salary. He didn't know what to do. He was embarrassed. He was ashamed. He didn't want to tell Mom how bad things were. He asked if I could help. I let that sink in. Let everyone process it. I've been paying their mortgage for 3 years. Every month. Without fail. $3,200 a month. That's $38,400 per year. Over 3 years, that's $115,200 that I've paid in mortgage payments. My mother was shaking her head, tears starting to stream down her face. No, that's not. David, is this true? My father couldn't look at her. He was staring at the table, his face red with shame. It's true, Patricia. We couldn't afford the house after the business failed. Rebecca offered to help. I didn't know what else to do. We would have lost the house. We would have had to move again. We would have lost everything. Oh my God, my Aunt Susan whispered. Several other people were murmuring, shocked, confused, processing. I wasn't done. Next slide. A receipt for a Honda CR-V. Purchase price, $32,000. Date, June 2022. 2.5 years ago, Mom needed a new car. Her old Accord died. The transmission went. It wasn't worth fixing. Dad called me. Told me they couldn't afford a new car. Asked if I could help. So I bought Mom that Honda CR-V she loves so much. The one she's been driving for 2.5 years. The one she posted photos of on Facebook. The one she told everyone Dad had bought her as an anniversary surprise with money he'd secretly been saving. I looked at my mother. That was me, Mom. I bought your car. Dad didn't have money saved. I paid $32,000 cash for that car. You've been driving a car I bought you for 2.5 years without knowing it. My mother was crying harder now. Her perfectly applied makeup was running down her face. My father still couldn't look up. Next slide. This one was the payment plan for Melissa's wedding. Multiple transactions. 5 payments of $10,000 each between March and August 2022. And then there was Melissa's wedding. The wedding you planned, Mom. The wedding you were so proud of. The wedding was supposed to cost $120,000 total. Brad's parents paid $40,000, Melissa. And Brad paid $20,000. That left $60,000. That was supposed to come from you and Dad. From the bride's family. I clicked to the next slide, which showed my bank transactions. Dad called me in March 2022, 3 months after Melissa got engaged. He told me he couldn't afford the wedding. He had maybe $10,000 saved. He needed $50,000 more. He was devastated. He didn't know how to tell you, Mom. Didn't know how to tell Melissa. Didn't want to disappoint you. Didn't want to ruin Melissa's dream wedding after you'd both lost so much. Melissa had tears running down her face now, too. So I paid for it. I paid $50,000 for Melissa's wedding. I paid for half of the wedding you've been bragging about for 2 years. The venue? I paid for half of it. The flowers? Paid for half of them. The food, the band, the photographer, the dress, I paid for half of all of it. That beautiful, perfect fairy tale wedding that was exactly what you dreamed of, Mom? Half of it was my money. The room was completely silent. 37 people froze, staring at the screen, staring at me, staring at my parents. Nobody knew what to say. I kept going. More slides, more payments. The dental work, $6,000 in July 2022. The furnace, $8,000. In January 2023, the Napa trip that I wasn't invited to, $5,000 in March 2023. The new washing machine, had to $200 in June 2023. The roof repair, $7,500 in September 2023. The new refrigerator. When the old one died, $2,800 in February 2024, emergency. Medical bills when Dad had to go to the ER, $3,500 in May 2024. New tires for Mom's car, $800 in August 2024, every expense, every emergency, every request, all documented, all paid, all kept secret. In total, over the past 3 years, I've given this family more than $212,000. That's $212,000. I've paid your mortgage so you could keep your house. I've paid for your car so you could drive. I've paid for Melissa's wedding so she could have her dream day. I've paid for repairs, emergencies, trips, appliances, medical bills, everything. Without ever asking for credit. Without ever asking for thanks. Without ever asking for acknowledgement. Without ever telling anyone. I turned off the TV. Disconnected my phone. Put it in my pocket. The silence in the room was overwhelming. My mother was crying uncontrollably now. My father had his head in his hands. Melissa was sobbing. Brad looked like he was in shock. My Uncle Tom was staring at me with his mouth open. My Aunt Susan had tears in her eyes. My cousins looked stunned. Brad's parents looked deeply uncomfortable, like they wanted to be anywhere but here. My mother's friends were exchanging glances, processing the fact that their friend who'd acted so wealthy and put together had been secretly bankrupt and dependent on her daughter's charity. So, Mom, I said, my voice steady and clear in the silence. When you stand up at Thanksgiving dinner and ask me why I can't be more like Melissa, when you tell me I have no ambition, no drive, no success, when you compare me unfavorably to my sister in front of everyone we know, I want you to understand something. I looked directly at her. Met her eyes. I've been supporting this family for 3 years. I've been keeping you afloat financially. I've been paying for the lifestyle you present to everyone. The house you're sitting in right now, the house where you're hosting this Thanksgiving dinner, I'm the reason you still have it. Without my money, without my help, you'd have lost this house in early 2022. You'd have been homeless. You'd have had to move in with relatives or rent a cheap apartment somewhere. The car you drove here in, I bought it. The wedding you brag about, I paid for half of it. The furnace that kept you warm last winter, I paid for that too. The food you're serving today, bought with money that came from the account I keep funded, I paid for that too, in a way. Without my money, without my success, without the career you dismiss as something with computers, this family would have lost everything 3 years ago. Dad would have had to declare bankruptcy. You'd have lost the house. Melissa wouldn't have had her dream wedding. You wouldn't have your car or your lifestyle or your ability to host Thanksgiving dinner for 37 people. You wouldn't have anything. So the next time you want to compare me to Melissa, the next time you want to talk about who's successful and who's not, the next time you want to publicly humiliate me and ask why I can't be more like my sister, remember this. Remember this moment. Remember these numbers. Remember that I'm the one who saved this family. Remember that my lack of ambition has been paying your bills for 3 years. Remember that the daughter you're so disappointed in is the only reason you still have a roof over your head. I picked up my purse, pulled out my coat. I'm leaving now. I'm going to go spend Thanksgiving with friends who actually appreciate me, friends who don't compare me to other people, friends who value me for who I am, not for who they wish I was, friends who see me. I walked toward the front door. The room was still completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody tried to stop me. As I reached the door, I turned back one more time. My mother was still sitting at the table, mascara running down her face, looking smaller and older than I'd ever seen her look. My father was crying. Melissa was hugging Brad, both of them crying. For what it's worth, I said. I didn't do this for recognition. I didn't do it so I could throw it in your face someday. I did it because you're my family and you needed help and I was in a position to provide it. I did it because that's what family is supposed to do, help each other. But I'm done now. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being unappreciated. I'm done being compared and judged and found lacking. I'm done paying your bills while being treated like your embarrassment. So starting next month, the mortgage payments stop. The emergency bailouts stop. The financial help stops. You'll have to figure out your finances yourselves. Maybe downsize again. Maybe Dad finds a better job. Maybe Mom actually gets a job for the first time in her life. I don't know and I don't care anymore, but I'm done. Melissa, I hope your life in Westchester is as perfect as it looks on Instagram, because I won't be bailing you out anymore when you run out of money. Brad, I hope Goldman Sachs pays you well enough to maintain your lifestyle, because I won't be loaning you $2,000 when you max out your credit cards. Mom, I hope you figure out how to define success in a way that actually reflects reality instead of appearances, because the daughter you've been calling a failure just pulled your family out of bankruptcy. The daughter you've been dismissing just gave you $212,000 over 3 years. The daughter you've been comparing unfavorably to your golden child is the only reason your golden child got to have a wedding at all. Think about that the next time you want to ask why I can't be more like Melissa. I opened the door, walked out into the cold November evening, got in my car, a practical Honda Accord that I owned outright, no car payment, and drove away from my childhood home. Away from my family, away from 34 years of comparisons and disappointment, and I felt lighter than I'd felt in years. My phone started ringing before I even got to the end of their street. My father's name on the screen. I declined the call. Then my mother. Declined. Then Melissa. Declined. Then text messages started pouring in. From my father. Rebecca, please come back. We need to talk. I'm so sorry. Your mother is devastated. Please come back. From my mother. Rebecca, I didn't know. I didn't understand. Please come back. We need to talk. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. From Melissa. Rebecca, please. I had no idea you were paying for all of that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't leave like this. From my Uncle Tom. That took guts, kiddo. Your mother had that coming. Call me if you need anything. From my Aunt Susan. I always knew you were special. I'm sorry your mother couldn't see it. I'm proud of you. From my cousin Jennifer. Oh my God, I can't believe you did that. That was incredible. You're my hero. From Brad's college roommate. I don't really know you, but that was the most badass thing I've ever seen at a holiday dinner. I turned off my phone. I drove to my apartment in Astoria, ordered Thai food, watched a movie. It was the best Thanksgiving I'd had in years. The next day, Friday, I woke up late, slept until 10 a.m., which I never do, made coffee, sat on my couch in my tiny apartment that had the most beautiful morning light streaming through the windows. I turned my phone back on. 68 text messages, 17 voicemails, 23 emails, several Facebook messages. Everyone had an opinion about what had happened. Most people were supportive. My Uncle Tom. Your father just told me the full story. I had no idea they were struggling financially. I had no idea you'd been helping them. Rebecca, what you did yesterday was brave. Your mother needed to hear that. She's needed to hear it for years. I'm proud of you. My Aunt Susan. I've watched your mother compare you to Melissa your whole life. It's been painful to watch. I should have said something years ago. but I didn't want to cause family drama. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you, but I'm glad you finally stood up for yourself. My cousin Jennifer. Can I come visit you? I want to hear the full story. Also, I want to escape the family drama. My mom, Aunt Susan, has been on the phone with your mom all morning, and it's a lot. A few people thought I'd been too harsh. My mother's best friend, Margaret. Rebecca, I understand you were hurt, but publicly humiliate your mother like that on Thanksgiving? That was cruel. She's devastated. She's been crying all night. Whatever issues you have should have been handled privately. A distant cousin I barely knew. Family problems should stay in the family. Airing your dirty laundry in front of everyone was inappropriate. You embarrassed your parents and your sister. That's not how families treat each other. I didn't respond to any of them. Just read through everything, processed it, and then put my phone down. Around noon, there was a knock on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. My father. I considered not answering. But he looked terrible, exhausted, defeated. I opened the door. Rebecca, please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I let him in. We sat in my small living room, and he looked around like he was seeing it for the first time. Really seeing it. This is nice. Your apartment. It's not tiny at all. It's actually really nice. You've decorated it well. It feels like home. Thanks. Your mother is devastated. She hasn't stopped crying since you left yesterday. She's mortified. She had no idea about the money, about any of it. She had no idea we would have lost the house without you. I know she didn't. That was the point. She didn't know because she didn't want to know. Because she never asked. Because she wasn't interested in my life. She's interested now. She wants to talk to you. She wants to apologize. Really apologize. Not just for yesterday, but for everything. For years of comparing you to Melissa. For making you feel less than. For not seeing you. For not appreciating you. I don't know if I'm ready to talk to her. I understand. But Rebecca, I need to say something. This is my fault as much as hers. Maybe more. What do you mean? Your mother has always been obsessed with appearances. With status. With how things look. That's who she was when I married her. And that's who she's always been. But I let her treat you the way she did. I let her compare you to Melissa constantly. I let her dismiss your accomplishments. I let her make you feel like you weren't enough. I never stood up for you. Never defended you. Never told her she was wrong. I just gave you apologetic looks and let it happen. That's true. I was weak. I was cowardly. I was so focused on keeping peace with your mother, on not rocking the boat, that I sacrificed your well-being. And when the business failed and we lost everything and I needed help, I came to you. Because I knew you were successful. I knew you made good money. I knew you were generous and kind. But I never told your mother. I let her keep thinking you were a failure while you were literally saving our lives financially. That's inexcusable. Why didn't you tell her? Because I was ashamed. Because I'd failed as a provider. Because I couldn't bear for your mother to know how badly I'd failed. And because... He paused, looking down at his hands. Because some part of me knew that even if she found out, she wouldn't change how she treated you. She'd find some way to make it about Melissa, or to minimize your contribution. And I didn't want you to have to face that. I didn't want you to give us all that money and still not get your mother's approval. So I kept it secret. You were right. She wouldn't have changed. Maybe. But you should have gotten credit for what you were doing. You should have been acknowledged and appreciated and thanked. You saved us, Rebecca. You saved our house. You saved Melissa's wedding. You saved our lives, basically. And you got nothing in return except more comparisons and more criticism. I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because you needed help. I know. But you deserve thanks anyway. You deserved appreciation. You deserved a mother who saw your success and your generosity and your kindness and was proud of you. And you didn't get that. And I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. We sat in silence for a moment. Rebecca, I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you. I just didn't say it enough. I didn't say it at all, really. I let your mother's voice be the loud one, and I stayed quiet. But I want you to know now, I'm proud of who you are, of what you've accomplished, of your career and your financial stability and your generosity. You're an amazing person, and I'm lucky to be your father, even if I haven't acted like it. Thank you for saying that, Dad. That means more than you know. Will you talk to your mother? Not today, not tomorrow, but sometime soon. She needs to apologize to you, really apologize, and she needs to hear from you how much she hurt you. Maybe, eventually. I need some time first. I understand. Take all the time you need. And Rebecca, the money, the mortgage payments, the help. You said you're stopping all of that. I understand why. We don't deserve your help after how we've treated you, but I want you to know that I'm going to figure it out. I'm already looking for a better job. Your mother is going to get a job, her first one in 30 years. We're going to cut expenses. We might have to downsize again, but we'll figure it out. You've done more than enough. You've given us 3 years to get on our feet. That's more generous than we had any right to expect. I don't want you to lose the house, Dad. We might, and that would be painful, but it would be our problem to solve, not yours. You've been solving our problems for 3 years. It's time we solve them ourselves. He stood up to leave. At the door, he hugged me. A real hug, tight and long and meaningful. I love you, Rebecca. I should say that more often. I love you and I'm proud of you and I'm sorry I wasn't the father you deserved. I love you too, Dad. After he left, I sat in my apartment feeling emotionally drained, but also strangely calm, strangely at peace. I'd finally stood up for myself. Finally said the things I'd been holding in for 3 years. For 34 years, really, and the world hadn't ended. My family was upset, but they were upset because they'd been confronted with the truth, not because I'd done anything wrong. On Saturday, Melissa showed up at my door. She looked terrible. No makeup. Sweatpants and a hoodie, hair in a messy bun. I'd literally never seen Melissa look anything less than perfect before. Rebecca, please talk to me. I need to apologize. I need you to understand. I let her in. She sat on my couch and immediately started crying. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. For everything. For letting Mom compare us our whole lives. For enjoying being the favorite. For not standing up for you. For not appreciating everything you've done. For the wedding. Oh my God, Rebecca, you paid for my wedding and I didn't even know. I didn't even thank you. You didn't know. There was no way for you to know. But I should have questioned it. I should have wondered how Mom and Dad could afford such an expensive wedding when Dad's business had failed. I should have asked more questions. But I didn't because it was easier not to. It was easier to just accept the fairy tale and not look too closely at how it was being funded. And that's selfish. That's so selfish. Melissa, I'm not mad at you. You should be. You should be furious with me. I've been the golden child our whole lives and I let it go to my head. I let Mom put you down to build me up and I didn't say anything. I didn't defend you! I just smiled and accepted the praise and let you take the criticism. I'm a terrible sister. You're not terrible. You're human. Mom put us in competition with each other from the time we were kids. She made everything about comparing us. That's not your fault. But I participated in it. I benefited from it. And I should have been better. I should have been the sister who stood up for you. Not the sister who secretly enjoyed being the favorite. Yeah, you should have. But I also never told you how I felt. I never told you it bothered me. I just internalized it and let it fester. That's on me too, she cried harder. The stuff you said about me and Brad. About the debt. About the money problems. That's all true. We're drowning, Rebecca. We bought a house we can't afford because Mom kept talking about how we needed to buy in a good neighborhood. How we needed to impress people. How we needed to have the right address. And Brad wanted to keep up with his Goldman Sachs colleagues who all have big houses. So we bought a house that's too expensive and now we can barely make the payments. We fight about money constantly. We've maxed out 4 credit cards. We had to take out a home equity line just to furnish the place. We can't afford to have kids, even though we want them, because we're spending every penny we make on the house and the cars, and trying to look successful. It's exhausting. It's miserable. And you're right. I did call you last Christmas to borrow money, and I never paid you back. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all of it. Melissa, why do you live like that? Why do you care so much about impressing people? Because that's what Mom taught me. That appearance matters. That status matters. That you have to look successful even if you're not. I've been trying to live up to her expectations my whole life, and her expectations are expensive. She wanted me to have the perfect wedding, so we spent a fortune we didn't have. She wanted me to have a house in Westchester, so we bought one we can't afford. She wanted me to look successful, so I dress in designer clothes I buy on credit. I'm exhausted. And you know what the crazy thing is? What? You're happier than me. I can tell. You live in your tiny apartment in Queens that's actually really nice, and you don't care what anyone thinks, and you're not drowning in debt, and you seem so much more at peace than I am. I've been killing myself trying to be perfect, trying to live up to Mom's expectations, and you just opted out. You decided to live your own life on your own terms, and you're better off for it. It's not easy opting out. Mom has made me feel bad about my choices my whole life. I know, and I'm sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I didn't appreciate you. Rebecca, what you've done for this family is incredible. The mortgage payments, the car, my wedding, all of it. You saved us. You saved Mom and Dad's house. You gave me the wedding I dreamed of. You've been this silent guardian angel for 3 years, and we had no idea. And instead of being grateful, Mom was criticizing you. It's so wrong. What are you going to do? About your house? Your debt? I don't know. Brad and I talked last night. Really talked. For the first time in months. We're going to sell the house. Move somewhere more affordable. Maybe back to the city. To a rental apartment. Get out from under the mortgage and the home equity line. Pay off the credit cards. Start over. Try to actually live within our means instead of trying to impress everyone. That sounds smart. It's scary. Mom's going to be so disappointed. She loves telling people about my house in Westchester. But I can't keep living for her approval. I can't keep drowning financially just to make her proud. I need to live my own life. Like you do. Good. That's really good, Melissa. Are you going to forgive us? Mom and Dad and me? Are we going to be okay? I don't know. I need time. Yesterday was a lot. This whole situation is a lot, but I don't want to cut you off forever. You're my sister. I love you, but things need to change. They will. I promise. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be the sister you deserve, and I'm going to stand up to Mom. I'm going to tell her that the comparisons need to stop, that treating you like a disappointment needs to stop, that she needs to see you for who you really are, not who she wishes you were. I'd appreciate that. After Melissa left, I felt better, lighter, like maybe there was hope for our relationship after all. Sunday was quiet. I stayed home, watched movies, ordered takeout, ignored my phone for the most part, tried to process everything that had happened. On Monday evening, my mother finally came. I'd been expecting it, dreading it, honestly. When I opened the door, I barely recognized her. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in 4 days. No makeup. Gray roots showing in her carefully dyed blonde hair, wearing jeans and a plain sweater instead of one of her designer outfits. She looked smaller, older, diminished. Rebecca, thank you for opening the door. I wasn't sure you would. Come in. We sat in my living room. She looked around like she was trying to memorize every detail. Like she was seeing where I actually lived for the first time and realizing it wasn't the depressing little hovel she'd imagined. This is lovely. Your apartment. It's not tiny. It's actually really nice. You've made it feel like home. Thank you. Rebecca, I don't know where to start. I've spent the past 4 days thinking about everything I've said to you over the years, everything I've done, how I've treated you. And I'm horrified. I'm absolutely horrified at myself. She started crying. Real tears. Not the delicate tears she'd cry at events when she wanted to look emotional. Ugly crying. Mascara-less, red-faced, gasping and crying. I failed you as a mother. I compared you to Melissa constantly. I dismissed your accomplishments. I made you feel like you were never good enough. I criticized your choices. I made you the example of what not to do while holding Melissa up as the perfect child. And the worst part is, I didn't even realize I was doing it. Or I did realize it, but I told myself it was for your own good. That I was trying to motivate you. But that's a lie. That's just an excuse. The truth is, I was disappointed that you weren't who I wanted you to be. I had this vision of what my daughters should be. They should be beautiful like me, social like me, focused on the things I valued. Appearance, status, the right house in the right neighborhood, the right marriage to the right kind of man. Melissa fit that vision perfectly. She was pretty and charming, and she dated the right kind of boys, and she cared about the things I cared about. She was who I wanted both my daughters to be. But you weren't like that. You were smart but shy. You liked computers and books instead of parties and boys. You didn't care about fashion or makeup. You weren't interested in the pageant world that had meant so much to me. You were just you. Different from what I expected. Different from what I wanted. And instead of loving you for who you were, I tried to change you. I tried to make you into Melissa. And when I couldn't, when you insisted on being yourself, I took it as a personal failure. Like your refusal to be the daughter I wanted meant I'd done something wrong. So I criticized you. I compared you. I made you feel less than. Because if I could make you feel bad enough about your choices, maybe you'd change. Maybe you'd become the daughter I'd wanted. But you didn't change. You just became more and more distant, more and more independent. You built your own life on your own terms. You stopped seeking my approval because I'd made it clear you'd never get it. And I told myself that was your failure, that you were a disappointing child, that you lacked ambition and drive, when really, you were just refusing to live the life I wanted for you. And then Thursday happened, and you showed everyone the truth. You showed us that you've been incredibly successful by any objective measure, that you make a lot of money, that you're financially stable, that you've been saving and planning and being responsible. And more than that, you showed us that you've been supporting this family for 3 years, keeping us afloat, paying our mortgage, buying my car, paying for Melissa's wedding, handling emergencies, being our financial lifeline. I've spent your entire life telling you you're not enough, and the whole time you were more than enough. You were successful and generous and kind. You were saving your family while I was criticizing you. You were paying our mortgage while I was comparing you unfavorably to your sister. You were giving us $212,000 while I was telling 37 people you had no ambition. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. Rebecca, I'm so sorry. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry. I can't take back the past 34 years. I can't undo the damage I've done. I can't give you the childhood you deserved, where your mother celebrated your accomplishments and supported your choices and made you feel valued. I can't change any of it, but I can tell you now that I was wrong. Completely, utterly, catastrophically wrong. I judged you by the wrong standards. I valued the wrong things. I was so focused on appearances and status and what I could brag about to my friends that I missed what actually mattered. That I have a daughter who's brilliant and successful and generous, who built an impressive career, who saved her family without asking for credit, who's financially responsible and independent and strong, who's kind and thoughtful even to people who don't deserve it. You're extraordinary, Rebecca. You're everything I should have wanted in a daughter. And I'm so sorry it took me being publicly humiliated to finally see it. We sat in silence for a long moment. I was crying too now. Not angry tears, just sad tears. Grieving tears. Tears for the relationship we'd never had. For the mother she'd never been. For 34 years of disappointment and criticism. I don't know what you want me to say, Mom. I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to know that I see you now. Really see you? Not who I wanted you to be, but who you actually are. And who you actually are is amazing. I'm proud of you, Rebecca. I should have said that years ago, decades ago. I'm proud of who you are, of what you've accomplished, of the life you've built, of the person you've become. And I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. What happens now? That's up to you. If you never want to speak to me again, I'll understand. I deserve that. If you want to cut me out of your life, you have every right. I wouldn't blame you. I don't want to cut you out. You're my mother, but I can't keep accepting being treated the way I've been treated. If we're going to have a relationship going forward, things have to change. Really change. They will. I promise. No more comparisons to Melissa. No more criticizing your life choices. No more dismissing your career. No more making you feel less than. I'm going to work on being a better mother. The mother you deserved all along. I'm also getting a job. Your father and I talked about finances. Really talked. For the first time in our marriage. We're going to figure out our own problems. I'm going to get a job. My first real job ever. I'm 62 years old and I've never worked, and that's embarrassing, but it's time. We're going to cut expenses. We might have to downsize again, but we're going to handle our own finances instead of depending on you. What about the mortgage? Can you actually afford it without my help? Probably not long term. We'll probably have to sell the house and move somewhere cheaper. And that's hard. That's humiliating after everything we've already lost. But it's our problem to solve, not yours. You've done more than enough. More than anyone should have to do. We need to stand on our own feet. I don't want you to lose the house, Mom. That's kind of you to say. But if we lose it, we lose it. That would be the consequence of your father's business decisions and my spending habits over the years. Not your responsibility to fix. She stood up to leave. At the door, she hugged me. A real hug. Not one of the perfunctory air kisses she usually gave. Thank you, Rebecca, for everything. For the 3 years of financial help. For standing up for yourself on Thursday. For giving me a chance to apologize. For everything. You're welcome. I love you. I should have said that more over the years. Should have shown it better. But I do love you. And I'm going to try to be better. I promise. After she left, I sat in my apartment and felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. I hope that maybe our relationship could be repaired. I hope that maybe my mother could actually change. Hope that maybe, finally, I could have the family I'd always wanted. The weeks following Thanksgiving were interesting, to say the least. The story of what happened spread through our extended family like wildfire. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone wanted to weigh in. Most people were supportive of me. My Uncle Tom called it the most justified public confrontation I've ever witnessed. My Aunt Susan said she wished she'd stood up to my mother years ago on my behalf. Several cousins reached out to tell me they'd always thought I was the smart, successful one, and they were glad I'd finally made my mother see it. A few people thought I'd gone too far. One of my mother's friends from church left me a voicemail about how family matters should be private and how I'd humiliated my parents unnecessarily. A distant cousin sent a Facebook message about how you should honor your parents no matter what, and how my public display was disrespectful. I didn't engage with the critics. I didn't try to defend myself or explain. I'd said what I needed to say on Thanksgiving. Anyone who didn't understand after that wasn't going to understand no matter what I said. My mother started therapy. Individual therapy with a counselor who specialized in family dynamics and narcissistic behavior patterns. She told me about it 2 weeks after Thanksgiving when we met for coffee. Our first one-on-one meeting since the confrontation. "I need to understand why I treated you the way I did," she said. "Why I was so focused on appearances and status. Why did I compare you to Melissa constantly? Why I couldn't just love you for who you are." My therapist says a lot of it goes back to my own mother, to the way I was raised, to my pageant years. But I need to work through it. I need to be better. She also got a job at a boutique in town, 3 days a week. It wasn't glamorous or well-paid, 15s an hour, part-time, but it was a job. The first paying job she'd had in 32 years. "It's humbling," she told me. "I'm 62 years old and I'm folding clothes and ringing up customers and taking orders from a manager who's 35. But it's honest work, and it's teaching me things. Like that there's dignity in all work, not just the kind that sounds impressive at dinner parties." My father found a better job. Not as good as his old business had been, but better than the property manager position. He became a real estate consultant for a firm in Manhattan, making $135,000 a year. Between his salary and my mother's part-time job, they could afford their mortgage. Barely. With careful budgeting and no luxuries. It was tight, but it was manageable. Melissa and Brad sold their Westchester house. Took a loss on it because they'd bought at the peak of the market and had to sell quickly. Moved into a 2-bedroom rental apartment in Hoboken, New Jersey. Cut their housing costs by more than half. Started paying down their credit card debt. Started living within their means. "It's weird," Melissa told me when we had lunch 6 weeks after Thanksgiving. "I thought I'd hate living in a rental apartment after having a house. I thought I'd feel like we'd failed. But honestly, I'm happier. I'm not constantly stressed about money. We can actually afford to go out to dinner sometimes. We're talking about maybe starting to try for a baby next year because we're not drowning in house payments. The house was beautiful, but it was killing us. This is better. I'm proud of you," I told her. That took guts. To admit the house wasn't working. To make a change even though you knew Mom would be disappointed. Mom was disappointed, but you know what? She got over it. She's been different since Thanksgiving. More real. She actually asked me how I was doing financially, instead of just assuming everything was perfect. She offered to babysit when we have kids. Said she wants to be helpful instead of just showing up for the photo ops. It's strange. But good strange, Christmas came. My mother had asked if I'd come to Christmas dinner, and I'd said yes, with conditions. Small, just immediate family. No 37 guests, no big production. Just us. She agreed. So on Christmas Day, it was just the 6 of us. My parents, me, Melissa, and Brad. We had dinner at their house. My mother cooked, not a catered meal, just her own cooking. Turkey and sides and pie. Simple, nice. During dinner, my mother stood up to make a toast. I tensed, waiting for the comparison, the criticism, the inevitable disappointment. But it didn't come. I want to thank everyone for being here. This year has been difficult in many ways. We've faced challenges. We've had hard conversations. We've had to look at ourselves honestly, which is never comfortable. But we're here. We're together. And I'm grateful for that. She looked at me. "Rebecca, I'm grateful for you. For your generosity over the past 3 years. For your patience with me. For giving me a chance to be a better mother. I know I have a long way to go, but I'm trying. And I hope you can see that." She looked at Melissa. "Melissa, I'm grateful for you too. And I'm proud of the decisions you and Brad have made, moving to a more affordable place. Getting your finances under control, making smart choices even when they're hard. That takes real maturity. I'm grateful for both my daughters. For different reasons. Because you're different people with different strengths and different paths. And that's okay. That's good. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that. She raised her glass. To family. To second chances. To being better. We drank. And for the first time in my life, I felt like maybe I was enough for my mother. The months that followed brought more changes. My mother and I started having regular coffee dates. Just the two of us. She'd ask about my work and actually listen to the answers. She'd ask about my life and seem genuinely interested. She'd tell me about her job at the boutique and about therapy and about things she was learning about herself. She apologized, a lot. Sometimes it felt like too much, like she was over-apologizing for everything. I'm sorry I said your dress was too casual. I'm sorry I forgot to ask about your promotion. I'm sorry I made that comment about your apartment. Mom, it's okay. You don't have to apologize for everything. I know, but I have 34 years of not apologizing to make up for. Let me work through it. My father and I grew closer too. We'd never been close when I was growing up. He'd always been distant, focused on work, letting my mother handle the parenting. But after Thanksgiving, he made an effort. He'd call me just to talk. He'd take me to dinner and ask about my life. He'd share stories about his own career struggles and failures and what he'd learned. I'm proud of you, he'd say. Every time we talked, I know I didn't say it enough before, so I'm saying it now. I'm proud of who you are. Melissa and I became genuinely close. We'd never been close growing up. The age gap and the comparison dynamic had prevented it. But now, as adults, with the competition finally over, we could actually be sisters. We'd text regularly, have dinner together, talk about real things. Our jobs, our relationships, our struggles. I'm sorry I was a jerk to you growing up, she said one day over lunch. You weren't a jerk. You were just the favorite. That's not your fault. I could have been better. I could have stood up to Mom when she compared us. I could have defended you. I didn't, and I'm sorry. You're standing up to her now. That's what matters. 1 year after that Thanksgiving, we gathered again at my parents' house. This time my mother had asked what I wanted. Small? I'd said. Just family? So it was just us. The 6 of us. Plus my Uncle Tom and Aunt Susan, who'd always been supportive of me. 8 people. A normal family Thanksgiving. My mother cooked. My father helped. Melissa brought wine. I brought dessert. Brad brought his famous sweet potato casserole. We ate and talked and laughed. During dinner, my mother stood to make a toast. I didn't tense this time. I knew what was coming. 1 year ago today, I stood up at Thanksgiving and said some terrible things to my daughter Rebecca. I compared her to Melissa. I questioned her ambition. I criticized her life. I humiliated her in front of 37 people. And Rebecca did something brave. She stood up and told the truth. She showed everyone what she'd been doing for this family, the money she'd been paying, the help she'd been providing, the generosity she'd been showing to people who didn't appreciate her. That moment changed everything. It changed how I see Rebecca, how I see Melissa, how I see myself. It forced me to confront my own failures as a mother and as a person. It made me realize that I'd been measuring success by all the wrong standards. This year has been a year of growth for all of us. Your father and I figured out our finances. I got my first real job. We learned to live within our means. Melissa and Brad moved to a more affordable home and got their finances under control. We learned to be real with each other instead of maintaining appearances. We learned what actually matters. She looked directly at me, her eyes filled with tears. Rebecca, 1 year ago you saved this family. Not just financially, though you did that too, but you saved us from ourselves, from our vanity and our denial and our dysfunction. You forced us to see the truth, and I know that was painful for you. I know you didn't want to have that confrontation, but I'm grateful you did, because we're better now. We're more honest. We're more real. We're more like an actual family. I'm proud of you. I say that now all the time, but I want to say it in front of everyone. I'm proud of your career. I'm proud of your financial responsibility. I'm proud of your generosity. I'm proud of your independence. I'm proud of the person you are. I was wrong about you for 34 years, and I'm spending the rest of my life making up for that. To Rebecca, the daughter who saved us, the daughter who stands up for herself, the daughter I should have appreciated all along. Everyone raised their glasses. Everyone drank. and I felt tears running down my face. Happy tears this time. After dinner, my mother pulled me aside into the kitchen while everyone else was in the living room watching football. "Can I show you something?" she asked. "Sure." She led me to the hallway. The wall that had been covered with photos of her Miss New Jersey pageant days was different now. The pageant photos were still there, but they'd been moved to make room for other pictures. New pictures. There was a photo of me at my college graduation from Rutgers. I didn't even know she'd kept that photo. There was a photo from when I'd gotten promoted to lead consultant. My company had thrown a small party, and someone had taken pictures, and somehow my mother had gotten one. There was a photo of me and her from one of our recent coffee dates, both of us smiling genuinely. There was even a printout of a news article that had mentioned my work, a cybersecurity conference where I'd been quoted as an expert. "I'm building a new wall," she said. "One that celebrates both my daughters for who they actually are, not who I wanted them to be." Melissa's photos are on the other side. Her graduation, her wedding, photos of her and Brad. But yours are here too now, because you deserve to be celebrated. You always did, I hugged her. A real hug. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on me, for giving me a chance to be better. 2 years after that Thanksgiving, my life looks completely different. Not in terms of external circumstances. I still work for the same company, still live in Astoria, still make good money. But in terms of relationships, in terms of family, in terms of feeling seen and valued and appreciated. My mother and I have coffee every 2 weeks. We talk about real things. She asks about my work and genuinely wants to understand it. She asks about my life and my friends and what makes me happy. She tells me about her job. She's been promoted to assistant manager at the boutique, which she's oddly proud of, and about her therapy, and about books she's reading and insights she's having. She hasn't compared me to Melissa in 2 years. Not once, not even subtly. My father and I are close in a way we never were before. He treats me like an adult, like an equal, like someone he respects. We have dinner once a month, just the two of us, and talk about work and life and family and everything. Melissa and I are real sisters now. We text almost every day. We have lunch once a week when we're both free. We talk about everything. Work stress, relationship issues, family dynamics, hopes and dreams and fears. She's pregnant now, 4 months along, and I'm going to be an aunt. She and Brad are in a good place financially. They're living within their means. They're happy. "I'm glad you blew up that Thanksgiving," she told me recently. "I know it was painful and dramatic and terrible at the moment, but it was necessary. We were all living a lie. You forced us to face reality, and we're all better for it. My parents are managing financially. It's tight, but they're doing it on their own. They've talked about maybe downsizing to a smaller house in a few years, something that would be easier to maintain and more affordable. They're not ashamed of that anymore. They're not trying to keep up appearances. They're just trying to live honestly. Last month, I got promoted again. Vice President of Cybersecurity Operations. My salary went up to $325,000 a year. I'm running a team of 15 people now. I'm speaking at conferences. I'm being quoted in industry publications. I'm doing work that matters. I called my mother to tell her about the promotion. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. What does a Vice President of Cybersecurity Operations do? And she asked real questions. I wanted to understand. Listened to the answers. Told everyone she knew that her daughter was a vice president at a cybersecurity firm in Manhattan. "You know what?" she said at the end of the call. "I owe you another apology." "For what?" "For all those years I told people you work with computers in that dismissive way. Like it was something to be embarrassed about. When really, you were doing incredibly important, impressive work, and I was too ignorant and shallow to appreciate it. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry I didn't brag about you the way I should have." "It's okay, Mom. You're bragging about me now." "That's what matters. I am." I tell everyone. My daughter Rebecca is a vice president at a cybersecurity firm. She protects companies from hackers. She makes more money than most people ever dream of making. She's brilliant and successful, and I'm so lucky she's my daughter. Thank you. Mom, that means everything. Last Thanksgiving, 3 years after the confrontation, we went to my apartment for Thanksgiving dinner. I'd offered to host and everyone had agreed. It was small, just the 6 of us again. I cooked turkey and sides in my tiny apartment in Queens that had a perfectly adequate kitchen and enough space for 6 people to eat comfortably. My mother looked around my apartment like she was seeing it for the first time, even though she'd been there several times by then. "This is really lovely, Rebecca. You've built a good life here, a life that makes you happy. That's what matters. Not square footage or the right zip code, just happiness." During dinner, I stood up to make a toast this time. 3 years ago, I stood up at Thanksgiving and told this family some hard truths. I aired our financial secrets. I revealed how much I'd been helping. I called out the comparisons and the criticism and the dysfunction. And it was painful. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I'm glad I did it, because it forced us to be honest with each other. It forced us to confront our problems. It forced us to change. And we have changed. Mom, you've done so much work on yourself. You've gone to therapy. You've examined your behavior. You've apologized and meant it. You've changed how you relate to me and to Melissa. You've become the mother I always needed. Dad, you've been present in a way you never were before. You've made an effort to know me, to support me, to be proud of me out loud instead of just quietly. That means everything. Melissa, you've become my real sister, not my competitor, not the golden child I had to measure up to, just my sister, my friend, someone I genuinely like spending time with. That's a gift. 3 years ago, I was so angry, so hurt, so tired of being invisible and unappreciated. I'm not anymore, because you've all done the work to change, to be better, to build real relationships instead of maintaining appearances. So I'm grateful. Grateful for the hard conversation that needed to happen. Grateful for the growth that came from it. Grateful for the family we've become. I raised my glass. To be honest, to grow. To second chances. To my family, we all drank. And in that moment, in my tiny apartment in Queens, surrounded by my imperfect but genuine family, I felt something I'd never felt before. I felt like I belonged. Like I was enough. Like I was seen and valued and appreciated for exactly who I was. So that's my story. The story of Thanksgiving, where my mother compared me to my sister in front of 37 people. The story of how I finally stood up for myself and revealed the truth. The story of how confrontation and honesty, as painful as they were, led to genuine change and healing. If you're watching this and you have a parent who constantly compares you to a sibling, who makes you feel less than, who doesn't see or appreciate who you actually are, know this. It's not your fault. You are not responsible for their inability to see your worth. You don't have to keep accepting it. You don't have to keep being the invisible one, the disappointing one, the one who's never quite good enough. You can stand up for yourself. You can demand to be seen. You can refuse to accept less than you deserve, and you can do it publicly if you need to. You can have a hard conversation. You can air the truth. You can force the confrontation that needs to happen. Will it be uncomfortable? Yes. Will it be painful? Absolutely. Will some people think you went too far? Probably. But sometimes public confrontation is the only thing that works. Sometimes people need to be shocked into seeing the truth. Sometimes you need witnesses to validate that what's happening to you is real and wrong and needs to change. Your worth is not determined by your parents' approval. Your success is not measured by their arbitrary standards. You get to define what success means for you. And if you're the family member who's been financially supporting everyone while being treated like a failure, the one paying bills while being criticized, the one propping everyone up while being torn down, you have every right to stop. You have every right to say enough. You have every right to demand appreciation or withdraw your help. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your continued financial support if they don't respect you. You don't owe anyone the maintenance of their comfortable lies. Tell the truth. Stand up for yourself. Demand better. And if they can't give you better, walk away. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be appreciated. You deserve to be celebrated for who you actually are, not criticized for who you're not. 3 years ago, I thought standing up to my family would destroy our relationships. In some ways, it did destroy the relationships we had. The dysfunctional, dishonest, unequal relationships based on appearances and denial. But it made space for something better. Something real. Something honest. Something that actually feels like family. That's what truth does. It destroys the lies to make room for reality. And reality, as painful as it sometimes is the only foundation for genuine relationships. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about standing up for yourself, setting boundaries, demanding respect, and refusing to accept less than you deserve. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story about people who chose themselves, confronted their families, and came out stronger on the other side. Thanks for watching. And remember, you are enough exactly as you are. Anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve access to you. Your worth is not negotiable. Your value is not up for debate. You deserve better. Stand up. Speak up. Take up space. Demand to be seen. You've got this.